3 minutes after my wife was kicked down our own porch stairs, 5 full military convoys thundered into our neighborhood. The sound shook the street-rattled windows and silenced the so-called queen of our HOA. That's how fast a petty tyrant's kingdom can collapse, and I swear to you, I saw it happen with my own eyes. People ask me all the time why I moved into Rosewood, this quiet slice of suburban America with its glossy brochure promises of community harmony. After years of deployments, then working as an emergency operations contractor, I thought I deserved stillness, a home with Mia, my wife, where her patients could send thank you cards to a real address instead of a P.O. box. What we didn't know was that behind every harmony committee lurks someone who craves power more than peace. In our neighborhood, that person was Beverly Convoys, better known at least in my head as HOA Karen. She wasn't even the official president. Mitch Albright held that title, but Mitch had the backbone of overcooked pasta and Beverly had the clipboard. She ruled from her ranch house with plastic flowers in the yard and a big sign that read, "Bless this home." The irony dripped so heavy I thought the letters might peel off. From day one, she had her sights set on us. Maybe it was because I didn't bow when she strutted by, or because Mia hung wind chimes that actually chimed. Or maybe it was because we helped our elderly neighbor Linda build a ramp so she wouldn't break her hip. Beverly looked at that ramp like it was toxic waste. "You're setting a bad precedent," she hissed, as if kindness might spread like a disease. And she didn't just target us. Tom, a retired Marine across the street, got fined because his flagpole was 3 inches taller than regulation. Linda got warnings about her flower baskets. Another neighbor was told his Christmas lights were excessively joyful. Beverly didn't want neighbors, she wanted subjects. And for a while I played along. Years in the military teach you to pick your battles. I filed emails cited fire codes when the HOA blocked an emergency corridor with a decorative iron gate. I thought reason might work. The board's response, a one-line email. "Your concern is noted. The barrier stays." That was when my instincts started whispering. I've seen enough disasters to know how they start, not with hurricanes or earthquakes, but with complacency. And Beverly's smug "my street, my rules" attitude. That was the earthquake waiting to happen. The day it erupted started out picture perfect. Mia, ever the optimist, set up a small charity table on our porch, blue cloth cookies, a jar for donations to the hospital relief fund. Nothing flashy, just kindness made visible. I stood there watching her in the morning sun, thinking this is what community is supposed to look like. And then came the sound I'd grown to dread, the click-clack of Beverly's heels. She marched up with her clipboard and a smirk sharp enough to cut glass. Unauthorized activity she snapped before her foot even hit our steps. She started scribbling, then whipped out a yellow measuring tape like a gunslinger. Measured the distance between the table and the walkway, muttering obstruction hazard. Neighbors gathered, some shaking their heads, others recording. I stepped forward, told her this was ridiculous. "It's a charity table, Beverly. Nobody's complaining." She glared. "Rules are rules, Mr. Mercer. If we allow this, what's next? Garage sales chaos." Mia, bless her heart, offered her a cookie. "It's just for the hospital. You're welcome to donate." Beverly ignored the cookie, jabbed her clipboard into Mia's chest, and hissed, "Pack it up or face fines." Mia stood her ground. One word, no. And that was it. That was the spark. Beverly let out a fake laugh, lifted her foot, and kicked my wife square in the chest. Time slowed. The tray of cookies clattered. Mia's arms flailed, and then her body hit the stone walkway with a sound I'll never forget. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I was at her side in 2 strides, hands stabilizing her neck. Voice calm, only because training forced it to be. "Stay with me, sweetheart. You're okay." But inside I was shaking, boiling. I barked for someone to call 911, then my hand slid into my pocket. The sat phone. I pressed the recessed amber 1 button. To the neighbors it looked like just another call, but I knew what it meant. That ping went straight to the State Emergency Ops Center, and 3 minutes later our quiet cul-de-sac shook under the weight of 5 National Guard convoys. Engines roared. Humvees lined the street, Soldiers poured out like a tide of olive-drab steel, and at their head, Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Wolfe. I'd worked with her before. She took one look at Mia on the ground, the illegal barrier blocking her convoy, and the overdressed tyrant still clutching her clipboard, and her voice cut through the air. Engineers cut that barrier. MPs secure the scene. Beverly puffed up like a balloon ready to pop. "This is private property. I'm vice president of this HOA. You can't just barge in." Colonel Wolfe didn't even blink. "Ma'am, this is a state emergency corridor. You've obstructed it with an unauthorized structure. Stand aside." Beverly planted her heels. "This is my street. You answer to me." The laughter from neighbors was almost enough to break the tension. Someone muttered, "Lady, you just told the U.S. Army to check in with your clipboard." Soldiers towered over her. Sparks flew as engineers sliced through the gate. The convoys rolled forward, reclaiming the road. And Beverly, she looked like a child screaming at a hurricane. But here's the part I don't like admitting. As Mia was strapped to a backboard, pale and shaken, a question gnawed at me. Had I made it worse? If I'd just stayed quiet, ignored the violations, maybe she wouldn't have been hurt. For a moment, I wanted to let go, hand it all to the cops, crawl back into silence. Then Tom, my Marine neighbor, pushed through the crowd. He held up his phone. "Jack, I've got it. The whole thing." She kicked Mia. "Don't you dare back down now." Around him, neighbors raised their phones too. Video after video proof stacked higher than Beverly's arrogance. And that was the turning point. I wasn't alone. We weren't alone. Inspector Ramos arrived next, flipping through codes, muttering violations like a grim mantra. No permit. ADA breach. Fire code obstruction. And then he dropped the hammer records, showed the contractor for the gate was Concade Landscaping, a shell company tied to Beverly's cousin. Fraud clear as day. Mitch, the spineless president, finally cracked. Hands trembling, he confessed, "I'll hand over the HOA's financial records." You could hear the gasp ripple through the crowd. Beverly shrieked, "You traitor!" But it was too late. The house of cards was falling. Deputy Reed turned on his body cam, asked Beverly to state her name. She lifted her chin. "Beverly Concade, Vice President of Rosewood HOA." He read back the charges: assault, obstruction of emergency access. Neighbors replayed the video right there in slow motion, the sound of her kick echoing in surround sound. Beverly went chalk white. She tried to spin it, pointing at me, screaming, "He set me up. This is harassment." I stared her down. "You did this to yourself, Beverly, and it's all on video." Even Mitch found a shred of backbone. "I thought it was about lawns," he said, "not laundering money." The crowd erupted. Years of resentment spilled out, people shouting about fines for chalk drawings, threats over wheelchair ramps, intimidation over holiday lights. One by one, every mask she'd worn was torn away. And then came the image I'll never forget. Beverly's precious clipboard slipped from her hands, papers scattering across the pavement, and an MP's boot came down, crushing it flat. For once, she had no weapon, no words, no audience. Just the sound of handcuffs clicking shut as they led her to the back of a patrol car. That's where the story ends for me. Not with a celebration, not with cookies on the porch, but with the sight of a woman who thought she was untouchable finally realizing she wasn't. Power only lasts as long as people let it.